So last time, 6/20, 2 weeks ago, we talked about search and search improvements in the admin, and the PR was merged. Today, 7/4. Today we have demos. We have demos from
I have one.
and we have demos from Mike
And from me as well.
and from Zoltan. Too many demos.
Well, there weren't any meetings.
That's what happened when you don't show up, Sebastian.
Well, if I didn't show up, there would be no demos. So
All right, but they pile up, see?
no, I show up, so there are demos. Otherwise, there will be no demos. You're welcome. So, status 2 weeks. Ooh, new features. 2 weeks, 20th of July. Make 2FA requirement check extensible. We did triage, and I think we reviewed it during triage. I don't have my usual view. I'm confused. Okay, that's the one. I think there's an issue here. Is there? I don't think we reviewed this one. Not exactly the way it is here.
Yeah, so the only change here is that we had to check. We check the settings every single time. There is no way to extend it by contributing to the decision. So there is a handler that checks, that calls the other handler or other handlers, and then they all can contribute to determine if two-factor authentication should be required. And then one of the handlers checks the settings.
Yeah, I'm not sure the coordinator is really necessary. Just to check if something is required, because the default behavior is that, okay, if one of them is required, then it is required. So yeah, things seems standard for requirement. If one says it's required, yeah, then if another says, no, it's not required, then, well, one says it's required, so this is required. So that's kind of over-engineered, but that works. Okay, get definitions of provided contained types. Okay, I shouldn't have filter. There is a filter here instead of getting all type definitions. It's just getting a type definition for the content type and then doing the where and not doing a where on all type definitions. Some optimization, okay. Demo video for providing robust TXT, new feature from last week, 2 weeks ago. Fix disable two-factor authentication button. Okay, wrong action. Update .NET versions. X-frame option unavailable. Okay, doc update. Doc SDK update. Add an option to allow the user to change the full text search behavior in the admin UI. We reviewed that last week. So now new options. Use exact match. That's the dictionary we mentioned last week. Default term name. So which terms you want to search on. And the key is a content type. So you can select what is the field to search on for each content type when you do a search in the admin. What are the fields to search on?
You define content type as a key, and then you define the term to use for the query. So yeah, that's the example right there.
Clean up two-factor auth. I'm seeing that coming. Where is it? Where is it? Nope, I don't see what I think I would see. Where is that defined?
That's a settings.
It's a property?
Yeah, the enabled two-factor is a property.
Good, that's good. I thought it would be a dynamic property that does some check or whatever. It's just a property. That's good. Nested migration recipes. Whatever it's fixing it. New scope for inner recipe. Okay. Remaining places unaware of virtual folders. Okay. Looks like it's simplifying stuff. Helpful shell extensions. That's a lot of changes. Well, okay. State equals running is running. Uninitialized, uninitialized, okay. Fix the stereotype filter, binding, and thumbnail. Stereotype filter, binding, and thumbnail. Stereotype filter. That's the thing you created, Mike, right?
It's a follow-up to it. Basically, now we have a filter that you can filter by stereotype in addition to the parameter.
I mean, it's fixing some issues on the feature that you created. That's what I meant.
Yeah. So we're not using the stereotype or content type as a stereotype. You have to explicitly say a stereotype.
So disappointing from Jean-Thierry. Can you spot the problem on this side?
Yeah, localization.
Yep, here, there. Missing localization, but that's good. Meeting is recorded. It will be fixed. Okay, all good. Good job. Good job. Good job. What else? Demos. Lots of demos. So by alphabetical order, Mark is first.
All right. Let me share my screen.
I love your voice, Mark, because you're confident.
Oh,
it's a confident voice.
I'm really good to hear that. So yeah, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. Since I rarely do demos, let me first introduce myself. My name is Mark Barta. I work with Lombiq Technologies for 10 years. Honestly, I only introduced myself to say this number. But anyway, today's topic is about the Lombiq content editors for Orchard Core. So this feature or module was originally built for Orchard 1 a couple of years ago, and it contained a lot of interesting features for advanced content editing, including async editors, which I would like to demo today, but let's get back to it in a second. It was a closed source module of ours, but this is the rewrite on Orchard Core. So the feature I mentioned is async editor. This is the primary feature that we started using for Smithsonian Folkways. And this is about basically editing content item editors, editing content items on an editor where the posting and loading of the editors happen asynchronously. Normally, if you would like to do such implementations, normally you would do or grab library like React or Vue.js and implement it with APIs and stuff like that. However, if you go with that approach, then you won't be able to leverage a lot of display management capabilities of Orchard Core. However, if you do want to use the shapes and placement and all these features of Orchard Core, then you can use, of course, the built-in content item editor on the admin UI, but of course, that's not async. Now, this feature is solves this problem by asynchronously loading and posting the editor groups of a content item. Since I mentioned editor groups, it supports multi-page editors. And as you can see here, this is one content type called employee. And when you start editing this employee, or actually load this editor, it will first load the wrapper page, and then it will asynchronously load the personal details editor group of that content item. And the API will return the actual HTML code for this. So here is the first page. Let's give it some name. And when I click Save and Next, it will post the form to the API, and it won't reload the page. It still stays here, and the backend will validate the form as well. And then if everything goes right, then it will return the next editor group HTML code and load it to the editor. Here you can see the second editor group. And when I click Submit, then it will publish the content item. It will, of course, give you some notifications. And well, that's it. you can see the editor groups with a friendly name. I will show you how you can do this. And of course, these provide some sort of pagination as well, so you can go back and forth on the editor groups. And also, if you use the URL, which you can see the other section of this URL. This is a Vue.js routing part of the URL. So again, I'm using Vue.js here. And if you load this to your browser, then it will automatically load that specific editor group of that specific content item. If I start a very new one, then you can see the second editor group is disabled because there's an option to disable certain pages until the previous editor group is not filled. You can do these editors on the front end as well. Sometimes it's actually useful if you want to build a form or async form on the front end. Like, I don't know, the contact form might be a little bit simple, but a very good example of such async editors is the Smithsonian music license request form, which we built for Toby at Smithsonian. I won't click through this this editor, but as you can see, it contains a lot of editor groups already, each field with specific fields, and you can't really, jump through these unless you fill the previous one. So this is a really good, nice use case already for this. And yeah, I would like to show you just a really, very simple code here. The core element of the implementation of your editors is the content item async editor provider. With this, you will be able to describe your editor groups. Like, for example, here you can see two editor groups defined for the employee content type. First one is the personal details. You can, of course, give it a friendly name. This will be displayed on the pagination or on the pager. And the other one is the employment details. Again, this is, you can provide a friendly name, and you can mark one editor group as a published group. And if it's a published group, then of course, instead of save button, it will show, well, submit, but it could show publish or anything else. Obviously, you can override these shapes and customize those to your needs as well. If you are interested in how you can build your own content editor or async editor, well, you can check out this repository, and here you will find a sample project. And inside the sample project, which is this one, you will find a very detailed documentation about how you can implement your own. It has training sections. So, like, for example, if you are interested in how to implement a simple content item async editor, then you can go through the documentation with stations that guide you basically how to implement your own editor. One thing I forgot to mention, it also supports inline scripts, or it can basically load scripts as well. Like if, for example, one editor page has a script inside it, then it supports it. So even if it's loaded asynchronously, the browser will evaluate the script, and you will be able to implement it. Like just a very quick example here, save and next, and on this click me button, if you click on it, then, well, a very simple operation happens in JavaScript. Okay, that's it. Let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions? Anyone? Okay. Next, Mike.
Let's have Zoltan go first.
It's not part of the
Sure.
plan.
Yes, he was.
Okay.
He's on there. He wanted done with something.
Let me do that. Let me start sharing my screen just a sec. And now you should be able to see it as well. So this is a bit more like an announcement, a little bit of demo about our new website. So what you see here is the new Lombiq.com, because the old Lombiq.com, just as Mark's tenure at Lombiq was 10 years old. It was an actual 10-year-old website with an Orchard One solution that was even older than that. But we didn't leave it as such because we wanted to, but we didn't really have the time, and there was always something more important. But now here it is. So our new website written on top of Orchard Core, of course, and with some new content, new design, new code, new everything. What we have here, by the way, is very similar to the structure of the old website. You can get to know our team, including this very handsome guy here, who you have already met, and the others, as well as details about our services, including, of course, Orchard Core consulting, development, training, and our open source activities, which is kind of important thing. So that's why we put it on its own page. Actually, we did that on the old website as well, like 1-2 years ago. That we wanted to showcase what we do in the open source sphere. Obviously, this is mostly about Orchard. And finally, you can also read some news, case studies, things like this here, including a case study of how we created this website. Because, of course, developing such a website is not a huge deal. This was made a little bit more complex because we already had an Orchard One website. So this also touches on what we did to migrate the content over. What are the projects that we use for it? Because Lombiq.com, the code of Lombiq.com itself is not open source. Well, why would it? But it doesn't contain that much code in itself. Mostly it builds on top of functionality that's available as open source projects, which you can see here, including actually in this helpful extensions project of ours, we added an Orchard One recipe migration feature. So this is what we mainly use to move over the content from the old website. Well, what was necessary to migrate over from the old website one-to-one, and that was enough of a volume to run something automatic or just blog posts. But this feature here can be used not just for blog posts, that's what we use this for, but anything from Orchard One that uses these commonly used parts. So this should cover most of the content in our Orchard One website. Yeah, so this was pretty much the announcement. We wanted to have it for Harvest, but unfortunately we didn't get to it at that point. There are also a couple of tweaks to be done still here and there, and especially because we didn't just want to launch a new website, but launch a new multi-tenant application that will serve as the basis of all of our future websites and all of our old websites that we gradually migrate over to Orchard Core. And perhaps .NET or Orchard.io will be next. So yeah, that was it for me.
That's great. Congratulations on 10 years.
Thank you.
Well, the issue is now Mike has to go and can't say someone else will do a demo.
Yeah.
No, see, Zoltan was trying to do a demo last week, so he was prepared since last week.
Oh,
And
sorry.
so, out of respect, you know, you gotta let him go first. So. All right, I will do my demo now. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So my demo is about, again, about two-factor authentication. So there has been few demos lately by me about around two-factor authentication. So one of the challenges that we have with the current two-factor authentication that's merged is that the UI is not extensible. And we only have Authenticator app to use as a two-factor authentication. So sometimes you might not want an Authenticator app. You might want to authenticate and use other methods like email or SMS or whatever, right? So I created another, well, the PR isn't in yet because I have some cleanup to do, but hopefully this will allow you to create a new PR. So with this new PR, the new change, we have a way to extend the two-factor authentication in a way where we can say, I want to enable app authenticator, I want to enable an email authenticator, and maybe you can implement your own SMS authenticator, whatever the case might be. So let me go ahead and kind of show what changed, and then I'll kind of go through and about the stuff that I had to change in order to accomplish this. So I'm logged in as a user for the first time. So this is new. So right now I have enabled two methods for authentication, the Authenticator app and also authentication, email authentication. So as you can see, when I logged in, I am required to log in or to enable my authentication because this user that I'm logged in with is an administrator. And part of the settings states that admins must enable two-factor authentication. So as you can see here, it's a, two-factor authentication is disabled. In order to enable it, activate one of those methods. So in here, you'll see two buttons. So this right here will allow you to authenticate or enable the email authentication. And it's not enabled because you haven't confirmed that email. I create an email. So I just want to show that process. That's why I haven't confirmed anything. So if I want to enable the authenticator, I'm going to request a code and I'm going to get an email with the code. I'm going to copy that code and verify it. And if things work, there you go. So now my email has been confirmed, and these are my recovery code because this is the first time I actually enabled two-factor authentication. So this is my codes to log in with. If I go back to that same screen under security, you're going to see that my email is now verified and two-factor authentication is enabled because I just enabled it. Okay, I can also add a second one, which is authentication app. And here I'm going to go ahead and do it before Sebastian goes and scans his phone. So, and let's see, 579432. Let's go ahead and confirm. And there you go. So now I have two methods of authentication enabled for this one user. Because I have more than one method, you'll see there's a new option here that's asking you which is your preferred method, if you care, right? So let's say, hey, I want the email authenticator to be the default. Again, you don't have to update it. I'm just going to update it just because I want to show you guys how this whole works. And now that I'm logged in and I have two-factor authentication enabled, I want to log out and I want to log back in, and let's see what happened. So, okay, so the first thing, it's asking me based on my preference, it's asking me to authenticate using an email. If for some reason I don't have access to this email, there's a new option here, say having trouble signing another way. You can also log in with your recovery codes if you have them. But just because it's a new feature, I'm going to click on sign in another way. And because I click sign in another way, now it's prompting me to go with my other method, which is my non-default, which is the app authenticator. So now I can try whichever method I want, and hopefully both will work. Since we are here, let me go do this and log in, and now I am logged in. So this right here is much more extensible, because now if you want to implement your own SMS provider, you can very easily enhance and add an option here for the third method of options. And also, to make it even better, I created features for each one of those. So App Authenticator is a feature. Obviously, if you disable it, it's no longer here. And also email authentication is a feature that you can enable and disable, because sometimes you might not want to utilize Authenticator app period because you don't want, for whatever reason, right? So if that's the case, maybe you only want your application to utilize this method. So if you do that, then only you will see this option. If we go here and we look at the features, so there's the two methods that are available. One of them is the email method and the authentication app. I haven't done a lot of testing, so I don't really want to disable one right now because there could be some issues that I haven't tested just for the sake of this demo. That's why I haven't submitted a PR yet, because the code isn't 100% ready yet. And so another thing that was added is if you go to the user settings. Oops, I have a breakpoint in my code. Hold on. Let it continue. So if you go to the user settings, obviously you've seen this before, which is two-factor authentication tab. And that tab is automatically available as soon as you enable one method. So if we go here, you'll see an option. Well, these options we have seen last time, but I've added these option right here, which is an email authenticator settings. So if you want to change the message, the email that goes out, you can go in here and actually change that email, the body, and the body also supports Liquid. So you can design it or change it for whatever it is that you want in the email subject and the email body as well. And another one other thing that around the features that was changed. So you'll see that there's three features related to two-factor. There is this one's two-factor authentication service, but this one you can enable and disable it. And the reason why, because this one is set to auto. Basically, it's a feature on demand. So the second you enable one of these two, this will automatically be enabled as well. And if you disable these two, this one will go away and you won't have the two-factor authentication available. Also, this security, it's a shape now, so we inject it using shape. It's better than before. Before we kind of hard coded it, so it allows us to extend this menu as well. And I think that's all I have. Questions, comments, concerns? Let me know.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really great. I would have two questions. Probably at least one of these you covered in previous demos. So forgive me if that's a repetition. One of them is, can you configure this to not require two-factor authentication for external logins?
What's external logins?
Yeah, like Azure, Active Directory, Google login.
To not require two-factor authentication for them?
No, because these have their own two-factor authentication.
Yeah, so the idea would be that if you use something like Azure AD to log in, then, well, everything authentication related is outsourced to Azure AD, so you shouldn't require a local two-factor authentication code either.
then just disable it. Or you want to enable it only for local users, but not enable it for external users.
Yeah, exactly.
Or that's not an option right now, but I'm sure you can. I'm not familiar with AD, with Azure AD, so I don't really know, but I'm pretty sure that we can, we can change some stuff to allow that scenario. But right now, basically, if you're using this app as a whole, if you have you can require it or not require it. So in here, there's a require two-factor authentication. You can require for absolutely everyone. And this other option, you can require it for specific roles. So if you want just admins to be required, then it is required. Maybe we need to add an option here that say, do not require two-factor or external users or something like that. And then, so we it's doable, but it's not built in.
I was also thinking about a new option here or something like that. Using that roles option can be a workaround because, for example, for Azure ED or any external authentication, you can configure a script that will add their role, so you can have a separate role for those users. So yeah, that can be a workaround. Okay, my second question would be about any manual intervention that admins can do for other users. So I foresee cases where people forget or lose the two-factor authentication device or whatever. They lose the recovery codes as well and everything, and they call me that, hey, I need to access the site. And then I, as an administrator of this application, need to be able to kind of reset everything for them. Is that possible?
No, right now it isn't, but that's an easy option we can add probably to the users, where you can say, hey, disable their two-factor authentication. We might be able to add that, but no, that's not an option today.
Okay, yeah, I think that would be quite useful.
Yeah, I'm sure as Mike starts using it, then if there are actual issues with actual users, then Mike will implement these features.
Yep. I mean, one of the whole reason why I kind of made it extensible, because and where we need to use the two-factor authentication, we can't have the users use their phone. They're all corporate users and they can't use phones. And so because of that, we have to have another option, which is like an email authenticator to allow them to provide the code from a code. So, but either way, the beauty now, it's just extensible, is that you can add whatever it is that you want. If you want this or that or both, or if you want to add another one, because I know there's another PR trying to allow or add an SMS or like a phone number support for the user, because the end goal is to allow SMS authentication for two factors. So I think this will be great.
That's great. Awesome. And the UI is very nice also. Cool. Topics? Questions? Awesome. Welcome back, Jasmin. We missed you. We survived.
Indeed.
You guys survived. Cool.
Well, Mike changed the search, so you have to check now everything. He broke everything. No, I'm kidding.
I'm expecting that. So
no, he just changed the admin content item search, which is not related to.
Jeez, Jasmine, have confidence, man.
No, but I had in mind that we had an O1 search for the admins. So this option here, this feature is not implemented yet. So you can break everything you want. This other feature needs to still be done. So I'm just joking. I've been busy with Dean working on this stuff. So yeah.
And can you breathe correctly because of the smoke?
What do you mean? I'm not sure.
Everything's burning around you.
Yeah. Well, it's fine. I mean, there's a lot of just a little bit of smog, but I'm not close to Montreal, and it's pretty much north of here. And it seems like the wind is not getting here, so it gets across to us. So getting to New York, mostly.
Yeah. So that.
From what I've seen.
Okay, cool then. Nice.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Good. Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Then, so meeting wise, I think we're done. Thanks everyone. See you on Thursday. So far, so good for Thursday for me. Thanks everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.